1 year ago this morning, I was in this same office and I was having a meeting with my boss. And the receptionist interrupted the meeting and said, "Your brother's on the phone." I asked her to tell my brother I was in a meeting to call me back. She said that he says it's urgent. Of course, the first thing I thought was my mom, because my mom's been a stroke victim for 12, at that point, 12 years. Dad totally took care of her. And so I automatically thought something had happened to her. So I go to get to the phone, I pick the phone up, and my brother's on the other line, Sonny. And he says, "Dad's gone." It took my brain a few seconds to register that thought, and I asked him to repeat it. "Dad's gone." Sonny had gone by the house to see if Dad wanted to have some breakfast, and no one answered the door. And he went in and he found my dad. He was lying in his wingback chair, a recliner, looked asleep. But he was gone apparently since the previous evening. In that one moment in time, my life changed. And I'm not the same person. We say that a piece of me went with that person, and I used to hear that, and I would think of it as a metaphor. And I guess you would argue that that is just a metaphor. But I can tell you, when I lost my dad, I did lose something of myself that I haven't been able to find or get back. This is very personal, and I share this with you because I know others of you have endured this, have gone through this. So many of us in this world are hurting in so many different ways. But I just feel like I need to say this about my dad to honor him. And I know people haven't forgotten Sam Tyree. He was an unforgettable person. But let me tell you something that differentiated my dad from most dads. You see, most of us will say, "I thank God that he gave me the best dad in the world." And that's the way it ought to be. That's the way we ought to feel about our dads. And let me stop and say, if you grew up with a dad who was absent or abusive, just flat out terrible father, I want to tell you that I'm sorry for that. I hurt for you for that. And I want you to know that God, who is a perfect father, wants to fill that gap. He wants to heal that pain. But many of us grew up with a great dad, and we'll say the best dad in the world, and we should feel that way. And so I listen to people talk about their dads, and he was a protector and a provider, and he was gentle. He was into this, he was into that. He loved his dog, he loved to fish, he loved to do this, he loved to do that. He may have gone to church, but very, very rarely do I hear someone say to me about their dad that Daddy loved Jesus. I don't mean that he went to church and that he said a prayer at the table and occasionally read his Bible. I mean, my father was in love with Jesus. It emanated from him. He shined the love of Christ. It was evident to anyone, even children. I called him the child whisperer because there was no child he ever picked up, stranger or not. I don't care how little or how big they were. They loved my dad because children sense something about adults. And every child, I think, without exception, knew immediately that my dad was a safe person, a loving person, someone who cherished them. But he loved Jesus. I have several of his Bibles over the years. My dad became a Christian when I was about 8 years old. So it's 50-some years I watched him live for Jesus. I don't mean go to church and be a good person. I mean live for Jesus. Taught us to love Jesus. I saw him pray. I watched him live. I watched him serve in the church and outside the church. And he's gone. And there's not many men of his generation like that with us. And so people say, well, you're going to step into his shoes. Really? How do I step in those shoes? I'm so happy he's with Jesus. We're taking care of Mom. My siblings, my brothers and my sister amaze me. Mom's okay. She can't wait to get to heaven and see Jesus and see Dad again. But here's the thing, folks. Here's what you need to know. When someone loses something, someone like my father, the person who so impacted the world around him, we do change. We are no longer the same. And I'm not saying it's a good thing. When I say I'm not the same person, I was a better person with him. I felt like my anchor is gone, like my compass is gone. So I just want to say and honor my dad in memory of him this morning. I love you. I don't expect you to hear this, and I don't need you to hear it. You're with Jesus, focusing on him. I don't need you looking down here. But I want to say I love you. And you were the best friend I ever had. You were my dad. You disciplined me. You taught me. You loved me. You protected me. You provided for me. You showed me how to live. But you were my best friend. And a very big part of this is gone. And it won't be filled until heaven. And then Jesus will fill it. But I want to say, on this anniversary, Sam Tyree, you made a difference. You are not forgotten. And I love you so much.